Hello and welcome. You are watching One India with me, Pankaj Mishra. Today, it's our honor to be joined by an eminent personality who needs no introduction, both in India and globally, Dr. David Frawley. And with the construction of the Ram Temple in Ayodhya and the consecration ceremony due in just a bit, Dr. Frawley, thank you so much for speaking with us and sharing your views here on One India.
Thank you. It is my great honor to be with you, and
Thank
I
you.
welcome our discussion.
Lovely. Dr. Frawley, first things first, construction of a Ram temple, something that is not just being celebrated in India, but also, as I have gathered from my family and friends who live abroad too, is something which is uh, appearing to be much anticipated. How do you see this, the relevance of it, both at the Indian level and at the global front as well?
Well, of course, at the Indian level, this is a very major event. Culturally, spiritually, even had some political ramifications. But it's essentially a new view of India relative to its ancient traditions, like the Ram worship, moving into the 21st century and awakening a great new inspiration and celebration throughout the country. And globally, there is a seeing of that. The yoga traditions brought Ram to the world already. We have a Hanuman temple within an hour of our particular house. And then there's also the idea, because people in the West aren't building temples. In fact, the biggest temples in the world are being built by the Hindus. They just built the largest one in the United States in New Jersey, largest monument. So this view of a temple worship, spirituality, yoga as the essence of life, not just technology and material pursuit.
Absolutely. The deity, obviously, who would be adorning the temple and his veneration, Lord Ram, something that has always been there, and a lot of aspects that, comes associated with Lord Ram is about how to go about your life, how to uh, behave, how to, be with others, every aspect of that. How relevant do you believe the values of Lord Ram would be for a peaceful coexistence that India too, Bharat too stands for?
Well, Ram is, of course, the avatar of Dharma. He represents higher values. He represents service, self-sacrifice, helping others, even if it requires giving up your own kingdom. So it is a selfless image that is of value to everyone. And he honored all living beings. And he also tried to help everyone out. That may involve it sometimes having to deal with removing negative forces. But it's also about embracing and promoting a deeper inspiration of unity, consciousness, oneself and all, as the Vedas teach.
Absolutely. Dr. Frawley, well, you're right. When it comes to Ram, the teachings and something that each one of us can imbibe, I can see you. You are in Santa Fe, if I'm not wrong, in New Mexico, in the United States, and I see the idols of gods and goddesses there in the background. Your association with Indian culture, if you can share with us, and also the relevance of Ram for those who live outside India, how it has been a connecting thread, if at all.
Yes. Well, I've been involved with Vedic teachings, studying with yoga gurus, all the way since my teenage years, which was a little while ago. And I also traveled to India and met many of the gurus. I had learned Sanskrit, traveled throughout the country, learned the teachings. And then I found myself in an interesting situation, because as someone from the West who had gone to the East, as it were, I was also being asked in India to explain these teachings to the people in India, because many of them understood an English idiom better than the traditional idiom. So I became a bridge going back way between East and West.
Okay.
and including the different branches, Yoga, Vedanta, Ayurveda, etc. Now, Ram, we must remember, has always been a worldwide inspiration, or at least throughout Asia. You know, we see temples and the names of Ram from Indonesia through all of Southeast Asia, Thailand, Sri Lanka. Even the Japanese did an animated film of Sri Ram recently and have a number of Hindu deities in their culture. And then it represents our ancient spiritual heritage. You know, human beings just didn't begin the last few centuries of technology. We look at our wisdom actually from our most ancient books, not from our most modern books. And we also look to a lot of our art to the ancients and to music, dance, like in Indian classical traditions, sculpture, temples, even the pyramids of Egypt. You know, Sri Ram is of that era.
Right. Needless to say, you're right. Southeast Asia, talk about Africa, towards, even the Gulf countries, the concept of Ram and the presence and the belief, it definitely surpasses all the boundaries. Coming back to the modernity versus the ancient traditions or beliefs. You are in United States, one of the most developed countries on the face of the earth. Many a times we have seen, and we talk about it as Western influence on Indian culture, Indian kids for that matter. Parents like me at times are more inclined towards teaching our kids the English as a language rather than focusing on what our traditions and cultures say. Do you believe that this conflict, if I may use this word here, would find some sort of closure with the arrival or with the concept of Ram in the days and years to come?
Well, certainly today, globally, we are also having this new technology, and the children are being guided by cell phones, and they're often more involved with computers and cell phones than nature and even playing. Now, Sri Ram also represents a much deeper influence in the ancient past and also the upcoming future, because we need to go back to our spiritual roots in humanity and honor nature and ecology. It's a great ecological story, we could say. And it's one that causes us to look to a different future, because such a wonderful story that can inspire everyone. We're not just limited to screens. We have the entire universe within us. All of nature is part of us. We can find much more beauty and wonder by exploring nature and spirituality. Technology is important, but it is not the ultimate goal of life. It is a tool for a higher consciousness, and that higher consciousness is being taught to us by texts like the Ramayana.
Absolutely. And Dr. Frawley, when we talk about, say, higher consciousness, this is something that comes from within also, and it is very much incumbent on us how we view and accept a particular notion or a thought. Do you believe from both, again, I would say, since you have the luxury, if I may say so, to look at something ingrained to the Indian culture, both from a foreign point of view and from the India's point of view, the concept of Ram or the belief associated with it, there has been a debate also going on in the country as of now, that the assertion of the Ram Temple, do you believe that somewhere it is also being seen as an assertion of Hinduism or Hindutva?
Well, certainly we must remember the Ayodhya is a long-term spiritual community. The temples go back way before, back into ancient times, and Ayodhya has remained a temple city all these particular years, even after the Ram Mandir was taken down. So obviously it is a matter of pride in India's culture, and in India's majority culture, being the Hindu, of course, that takes a great pride. But Ram was also honored by the Buddhist, the Jain, the Sikhs, and many others, almost of all religions, you might say. So we must remember that Ram is a universal figure. Dharma is a universal fact, but it should be a point of pride for India as a nation that its civilization is coming up and that it is having a revival inside of India, but also an influence outside of India. Because as we say, the story of the Ramayana is gone global.
Right. Now, Dr. Frawley, as diverse as a culture that India is, on one hand, we have Ramayana, talks about dharma. On other, we have Mahabharata, which talks about karma. And Lord Krishna, speaking to Arjuna in the battlefield and telling him, Karm karo, phal ki chinta na karo, don't worry about the result. You just do your work, your duty. In that regard, sir, for India, which finds itself at the crossroads of development, of tradition and culture, which needs to go hand in hand, what message do you believe that India conveys as of now on the global platform when it comes to the realities of a war, might be going on between a Russia or a Ukraine or in Israel or a Gaza? How do you see it, and what message, from your point of view, do you foresee for the world?
Well, first of all, India represents 1/6 of humanity. So it's not just one country among many.
Yeah.
It's all, and there's greater diversity inside of India than in Europe, North America. And Europe has never been united. That's why we have another European war. But India is united today. And of course, there are conflicts and differences and various opinions, but it is a country that's growing, developing, and flourishing. And it says the entire world is one family, the universe, not just human beings, but all beings. So India has a role, and India has generally been a peacemaker. It's not gone into one camp or another. India supports a multipolar world, which means we honor all people, all countries, all traditions, and give them their space. Democracy doesn't mean uniformity for everyone. It means a space for individual, cultural, and spiritual, artistic differences and traditions to grow. Wow. So that great diversity is coming out of India, and the world needs to know how to recognize and share it in celebrations, not just in debates.
Well, indeed. Thank you so much, Dr. Frawley, for speaking to us and also letting our viewers know, understand a perspective which is very rare, I would say, to look at India from a completely different culture, and also a country which is miles away from India. Dr. David Frawley there joining us from Santa Fe. One quick question, Dr. Frawley, which I would like to know. There are many authors who have come to India. They have written a lot about India. If we have to find Dr. Frawley in India when you are here, which is the place most likely will find you?
Well, I'm coming to India shortly, but I'm having my main programs in the south, in Kanyakumari with the Vivekananda Kendra, around the Sri Aurobindo ashram and other places in the south. But I always come in and out of Delhi. Right. So in and out of Delhi, I usually meet with various groups in Delhi and also with various media things going on. And so in some other media groups as well. And books are there. So books. So you can always join us there. And we have a website, etc. We put up where our programs will be. But a lot of our work in India is sadhana. It's not all public, but some of it is. Right.
We look forward to speak to you and to meet you also in person in the days to come. Dr. Frawley, thank you so much for speaking with Oneindia.
Thank you. Thank you. Hari Om Jai Shri Ram.
Hari Om, sir.